Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Chrome Game Development here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make choices matter later on, as well as just making simple choices in the game. So hopefully this will all make sense to you. And yeah, it's kind of difficult because there's not very many tutorials out there, but I'm going to try to make this make sense to the best of my abilities, but I don't want to ramble on too much, so let's just get right into it. So you make choices by opening a menu, and this menu can have more than two choices. Right now we're going to stick with just two to make it as simple as possible, and the two choices we're going to be using for this is going to be become Spider-Man and don't become Spider-Man. And basically you had to continue on from these choices, obviously, to continue your game, to show what's going to happen. And just for the record, if you wanted this choice to not matter and continue on your game, or just matter later on, like continue and then bring it up later, you would just go to like make these both jump to the same thing. For example, make them both jump to proceed, and then you would continue on your game and then bring it up later. But to make that make sense, you would have to have it matter later, as I mentioned. So you'd have to set a variable, which we'll go over, but just not overload your brain with a bunch of stuff and thoughts. Just know that this menu and putting choices and these two choices is how you make a basic choice in a game. Then you have to make them jump to something, show what your choice did. So we have ours jumping to don't be Spider-Man and be Spider-Man. And then, yeah, that's what our choices do. And yeah. So ours will matter later on because we have these defined variables. If you didn't want them to matter on, all you would do is delete these. I hope that makes sense. So if you just, like I said, didn't want them to matter later on and just do like a small little text like, wow, you're a bad person or something, you would just jump to these choices, one line of text, and then have them jump to proceed so you can continue on your game. Hope that makes sense. Hope I didn't overcomplicate it. Anyways, now we're going to be going over how to make choices matter later on, and this is kind of tricky because nobody really talks about this setting the variable to true and setting one to false thing. So to make a choice matter, you have to do something. For example, I just want to go over this real quick before I get into it. If you have more than two choices, you have to set more than one to, like, you would have to set 2 to false or 2 to true. Just fill up those slots, and then whatever ones you want to be true to make matter, you would have to set multiple to true. For example, if I did another one that's like become Batman and you could still save the lady later on, then I could set go to this thing and set Batman equal to true, or I would have to do superhero equal to true, and then on both of those, and then you would still, for both of those, you'd get the option to save the lady. Anyways, to make that make sense, I should probably go over how to make choices matter. I keep going on tangents, but I want to kind of get all the information out there as possible, just in case you have questions. And if you have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer. Anyways, this is our two choices, become Spider-Man and don't become Spider-Man, and we are jumping to this label here, just the first one. Say we said we want to become Spider-Man. Then when we get this text to pop up, and we get to this choice by defining the label as be Spider-Man, that way the choice jumps to here. And so if you choose to be Spider-Man, you will get the text, you have chosen to become Spider-Man, I hope you can save someone later. And then we're going to jump to the next part of the game, which is the building. And we'll have both of these set to go back to the building. That way the game kind of naturally continues on after the choices. But if you choose don't be Spider-Man, you chose not to be Spider-Man. You won't be able to save someone later. And the reason that we can tell what you chose later is we will tick a variable, basically. So if we chose to be Spider-Man, we're going to set the variable Spider-Man to true. And you set a variable with the $sign, and then you can name this whatever you want. For example, like I mentioned earlier, if you wanted multiple superheroes, you would set this to superhero, set multiple to true. For this case, we have one set to true, one set is false for Spider-Man. So yeah. So the way the game tells if you chose to be Spider-Man or not is this variable here that is ticked to true if you select this choice here. And then you have to set this other one to false. You can't leave it blank. You have to actually go in and set it as false. That way the game knows that you didn't choose to be Spider-Man. So you have to set it as false, and then you just continue on from there. Jump to the building. That way the game naturally continues on. And then you get this. There is still a lady inside a burning building will you save her, and the menu will say either save her or don't save her. But you notice that the save her has this if clause, and it's basically if Spider-Man. This may look weird, but basically what this means is if Spider-Man equals true, it's just shortened, makes it easier. So it's just if Spider-Man, that's all you need. You don't need the equals true there, just if Spider-Man. And basically if you don't get it, for example, if you pick don't be Spider-Man, you just won't get this choice at all. So that's how we're going to do this. And yeah. Then you'll have the option don't save her no matter what on both because there's no if clause. Another way you could potentially add like a choice to where if you didn't want this is you could set a different variable to true. Like if I wanted to set like a variable, let me try to, like if I set like a variable like be Batman equals true in the same one, I could put here if Batman or be Batman, and get a hold and have this only show up if we chose to be Batman. So I hope that makes sense. You can simultaneously define one to be true as you can the other one to be false. So like for relationships, for example, you could deny a lady and say no, I don't want you, and have like be with Samantha equals true and be with Elaine equals false. I just want you guys to know that in case you want to like have two choices that lead to different paths. Lead to complete unique paths. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. And then you just basically you can choose whatever you do. So you can see here if we choose to save her, we get the saved one, and we get the thank you so much Spider-Man. We could add a variable and put saved equals true, didn't save, and then we could put saved equals false to make that matter later on whenever I decide to call on it later. We're not going to do that. We just want this to be as simple as possible. But that is something you could do. I feel like I'm rambling so much, but I kind of want to like make sure you know everything because there's a lot that goes into this. Because choices are such a big part of visual novels that you kind of need to know all this. I'm aware that it might be super complicated, but just look at the code if you're really confused. The code will ultimately give you the answers you're looking for, and not overcomplicate things. You can just look at the code and kind of understand what's going on if my words are confusing, as well as you can type a comment on things you're confused about. I am always here to help. I really like coding, and I'm happy to help people. So yeah, just let me know if you need anything like that. Anyways, yeah, you can see now we are jumping to proceed on both. That way we can proceed the game. And yeah, we basically proceed the whole game from this label now on as you did at the start, but instead of from start, you're doing it from proceed now. So yeah, hope that makes sense. It should make more sense. Ironic. Did I save the code? Yeah, we did have to fix something earlier, but that shouldn't be a problem now. So you can see here we defined the names earlier. So we get this default name Patrick. Then we have become Spider-Man or don't become Spider-Man. We're going to become Spider-Man. I hope you can save someone later. There's a lady inside the burning building. Will you save her? We will save her. And then you can see it continues the game on from there. And we'll get the same choice if we choose don't to save her. Or continue on from the same spot. But you can see we chose not to save her. And it says you walk away. Luckily Spider-Man saves her. So you can see that if we don't become Spider-Man, that we don't even get the option to save her. I think that's pretty important, but it's also important to note that even as Spider-Man, we are still giving the person the option to not save her. You can obviously not do that if you wanted. I mean, that is completely up to you. I guess I could talk about how to do that real quick. So say we don't want to give this Spider-Man the don't save her option. So we could do if bad person. So on here, yeah, on the Spider-Man false, we need to set a variable again. So the $sign, then I'm gonna do bad person equals true. You need to capitalize true. And then we can do up here once again and just do bad person equals false. And this will basically make it where, well, first of all, we have to go to the choice. Yeah, if bad person, we already did this. So this will basically make it that if we are a bad person, this option will show up. If not, the other option will show up. So, you know, this should be pretty simple what we're doing. We're basically defining two variables and having them do each give us unique options. So if we become Spider-Man, we will only now get the option to save her, and if we don't become Spider-Man, we will now only get the option to not save her. So hopefully that made sense. Also, if we don't become Spider-Man, we can't save her, obviously, and we go home. So hopefully all this made sense. I tried to cover a lot. It's a very complicated concept, as I mentioned, because choices go so far and so in-depth. It's really hard to talk about in a short amount of time. Like I said, I could probably do a whole hour-long video on choices and the complexity of it, but for right now, I am choosing not to. But yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know in the description, as well as, you know, maybe try to look up some just code or try to find somebody else's code and just look, because I always found the most success in just looking at code and finding the answers that way. Where not everybody's like that. That's why I made this video. Some things I do need people to talk me through, but some things it's just easier to look at the code and kind of understand what's going on. Anyway, that's enough rambling for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.